Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be a full face of first impressions or second impressions, but nothing beyond that. I mentioned in my latest haul video if you would be interested in seeing me try out any of these products for the first time on camera with you, and so that's what we're doing today. This is obviously the finished look that I came up with, but we're going to play with a lot of different products today. I have the Jaclyn Hill brush set, a primer from Touch in Sol, powders from Kylie, bronzers from Too Faced, Charlotte Tilbury color correctors, MAC lipsticks, an eyeshadow palette from Persona, and a bunch of other things to play with. But before we get into the video, if you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you're gonna like it and that you enjoy my channel, and consider subscribing, joining my makeup family for 3 brand new videos every single week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Now without any further delay, let's go ahead and show you how I created this makeup look. I literally just got back from a dance class and I'm so excited for a little makeup playtime. I have a lot of new items to play with, enough for a full face of makeup, so let's go ahead and get started. If I look towards my right, it's because that's where my mirror is located and I didn't want to block the viewfinder in any way, so I just have it over there. So let's start with a little bit of primer. This is something that I got in my BoxyCharm. It's by Touch in Sol. It's the Pretty Filter Glassy Skin Balm, and it's supposed to be a priming skin balm with a sensationally smooth texture that melts into your skin and creates the ultimate glow that lasts throughout the day. Like I said, it's something I got in my BoxyCharm and it smells really good. I'm not sure how much to use, so I just scooped out that much on my nail. And oh whoa, it feels cold. It definitely feels smoothing and it has such a pleasant scent. I think I used just about the right amount. I do admit it feels a little bit heavy in the hydration department, so if you have oily skin, I'm not sure if you would like this one. It doesn't have the same sticky feeling as my Ciate primer, but it does have a little bit of tack. For my foundation, we're going to be using this one from Makeup Revolution. It is the Conceal and Hydrate Foundation. I always prefer to try a foundation for the first time when I don't have anywhere specific to go, and this one is a full coverage foundation like I shared in my haul, which is not necessarily what I go for. So definitely want to try it out in the safety of my home before I take that one outside. I grabbed mine in the shade F7, so hopefully that will work for me. It says it's full coverage, so that might be more than enough. It's a little bit runny, but not too liquidy. Typically, I would go in with my Luxie brush and apply it all over, but since I'm using the Jaclyn Hill brushes today, I'm going to go ahead and dab it all around because the foundation brush that comes with that one, this looks like it's a little light. The foundation brush that comes with that one is really big and I think it might absorb some of the products, so I think I definitely got a foundation that's too light for me. So I've dotted it all around, and here's the foundation brush. I've used some of the brushes in this set but not all. So yeah, this foundation is too pink. Oh my gosh, it looks like I'm putting like, you know, that chicken pox medicine. Oh my gosh. Calamine lotion. Oh my god. Looks like I'm putting calamine lotion all over my face. So pink, and it's so heavy too. I should have probably tested this in a small area before putting it all over my face. Oh my goodness. The color aside, it does have nice coverage, but I feel like it's emphasizing texture. I bought this at Ulta Beauty online, and they need to get a foundation matcher like Sephora has, because I haven't done this bad at a foundation match in a really long time. Darn it, I got a little bit ahead of myself. I wanted to use this Charlotte Tilbury color corrector. I'm still going to use it underneath my eyes, but since I do sometimes bring my foundation a little bit into my under eyes, I wanted to apply it before, but we'll just do it after. If we're shade twins, shade F7 is not our shade. It is way too pink. I look really pasty. I'm not sure if any amount of bronzer is going to correct the situation. It's heavier coverage than I prefer, and I do feel that it clings a little bit to dry patches. It may be one of those foundations that looks better as the day goes on, but we'll see. I'm definitely glad I did not plan on wearing this outside. A little bit goes a very long way, especially the way I prefer to use foundation. You saw I had like a pump and a half in there, and we didn't even use the whole thing. The brush worked pretty good though. I like the brush fine. Let's go ahead and use the Magic Vanish color corrector. I'm just going to apply it underneath my eyes. I'm cheating just a tiny bit because I was anxious to see how this would work, and so I wore it yesterday to work. I wasn't wearing any foundation though, so I just applied it underneath my eyes. I'm using one of the Kevyn Aucoin brushes I found at TJ Maxx. I shared that in my most recent haul. So mostly I just put this peachy corrector right where I have the darkest areas underneath my eyes. It's on my fingers, it feels very emollient, and I do prefer to apply it with a brush because I can get into the inner corner of my eyes a little bit easier. I do feel that it brightens my under eye and it layers well over the foundation, although I do prefer to apply it underneath or on bare skin, and the packaging definitely gets fingerprints like immediately. I did pick up the matching concealer in the shade C6. It has a very large Tarte Shape Tape type applicator, and I'm just going to go right underneath my eyes. This is supposed to be a full coverage concealer, so I'm not going to apply too much. And this is also too light. A little bit does go a long way in this regard as well, so I'm just gonna go ahead and bring a little bit up into my eyelid. So with the concealer, in terms of blending it out, it blends out nicely. It doesn't dry too quickly, although I think it is more drying of a formula. Though I wouldn't necessarily call it matte. It just feels a little bit drying, which is interesting considering it's got hydrating in its name. I feel that it is creasing, but of course the concealer isn't set just yet. I'm gonna go ahead and set it with a powder. The powder I have is from Kylie Cosmetics, and I picked up the shade Beige, so hopefully it'll darken up my skin a little bit. This is what the packaging looks like. It has a sifter right there. The powder actually looks quite dark. It is darkening the concealer, which in this case it's a good thing, but usually I don't like that. I would prefer my concealer not to be altered. Also, the powder doesn't feel too fine. I have to touch it with my fingers. In my hands it feels more finely milled, just not when I apply it with a brush. Before I powder the rest of my face, I want to use the Marc Jacobs Dewdrops. I applied just a tiny bit to my hands, and I'm going to pick it up with my sponge, and I'm just going to apply that on the high points of my cheek before I set the rest of my face with powder. I had actually originally hesitated in purchasing these when they first came available, which I think was this summer, because I thought that this shade was going to be too light for me. Plus, I love the Do You Dewdrops so much, and I haven't even put a dent in those. But I found this for like $8 at TJ Maxx, and I'm like, yes, I will take it. That looks so pretty and natural. It's actually not too dark at all. It just has a little like rose gold feel to it. I really like it. That's like the first complexion product I apply that I really like today. I'm gonna take this gigantic powder brush and apply powder to the rest of my face. I'm gonna be loading up on bronzer, so I wanna make sure that it's not going to be patchy if it sticks to any part of the foundation that is still damp. This brush actually feels like it would be really great for buffing. It's pretty, it's not dense, it's pretty soft actually. The shade of this powder is actually a little darker than you would expect something with the name Beige to be, but today I'm not complaining because I definitely need to darken up my complexion a little bit since my foundation shade was so bad. I feel like I'm using a lot of the powder, and since you only get 10 grams, I think you might run out of this if you're a heavy powder user. For my bronzer, we're gonna go in with this one from Too Faced. That's a real throwback, but new to me. This one is the Sweethearts bronzer in the shade Sweet Tea. I think Kathleen Lights made this famous, and I had never tried it. I was curious to try it. The packaging is cute, but a little bit obnoxious in its size. It's this cardboard heart-shaped container, and there's the bronzer. And we're going to go in with this bronzer brush. I'm just gonna mix the two shades together. It looks like more luminous side and a more matte side, but I'm just gonna swirl my brush in there together. I had used some of these brushes just when I did my makeup for work the other day, and this was one of the ones that I used because I do use bronzer pretty much every day. I think this is helping to bring some color back to my skin. It's blending really nicely over the foundation too. I do have a tendency to like the things Kathleen Lights recommends, although sometimes the shades she chooses are a little bit light for me. I don't have a new contour product, so we're kind of bronzing here. Again, the brush is actually quite nice. I'm conflicted in recommending them because I think they're overpriced for $150 something, but I didn't pay that much. I picked them up at 20% off, and even at 20% off, it's a little bit high, but you know, the brushes are not bad quality. Like, they feel soft. Some of them were shedding on me when I was using them, but I'm not expecting Wayne Goss quality when I'm using these brushes, obviously. They pick up the product really well, and this bronzer applies really nicely. I almost feel like I'm back to my normal color. See right here, you can see, or maybe you can't, but the brush is shedding. I think I'm really liking this bronzer. I like the finish of it. It's like, it's got a sheen to it, like she would describe. A little bit of a sheen. No shimmer, there's no glitter in here at all, but it's not flat matte. For my blush, I have two options. This is actually a highlighter. It's from Melt Cosmetics, and it's in the shade Genesis. And I think I'm gonna try it as a blush because that's what the shade looks like. Let's go ahead and try this as a blush, but I do have a backup plan in case that doesn't work out. Oh no, that's working out fine. It's a luminous blush for sure, but it definitely wouldn't be a highlighter on me. Yeah, if I had tried that to apply that as a highlighter, it would have been too dark. It would have cast a shadow. So I'm glad that I tried it as a blush instead. It's definitely a luminous blush, but if you have a deeper skin tone, this might make a lovely highlight. The powder itself doesn't have any glitter, which is good and what makes me able to use it as a blush, but it is really metallic. So I'm not saying like, you know, the Tin Man, but it is really dewy, and if you're trying to disguise any texture or anything on your cheeks, you probably won't want to be using this as a blush. I think I can get away with it, but my skin definitely has a little more texture than normal. I do have a second shade, which is the shade Morning Star, and this one does work as a highlighter on me. That's what the shade looks like right there. Very icy looking. And I'm just going to apply this to the very tops of my cheekbones. So as a highlighter, this is a really intense formula. The effect is really intense and metallic. Although I think that the Milk makeup formula is a little bit softer, a little bit more creamy than this texture. This one feels more like a drier powder, but it still blends really, really well, and it does give you that blinding highlight. I'm pretty much buffing it on, and I haven't used any setting spray or anything like that, so that is just that by itself. I do feel that my under eyes are creasing and looking a little bit dry. Nothing too terrible, but just something I wanted to mention, especially since the concealer claims to be hydrating. I'm going to use the matte side of the bronzer as a little bit of a contour on my nose. Just a touch, especially since I did highlight the bridge. I didn't put any additional powder on my brush, but I do want to go and just kind of buff everything together just to give it a more seamless look with just whatever product was already left on there. I really do think this brush would make a very nice buffing brush. It reminds me a lot of the Thrive Cosmetics one, a little bit of the Marc Jacobs one, but this one is a lot less dense. So that's what my complexion is looking like. I'm going to apply a little bit of MAC Fix Plus. For my eyeshadow, I'm going to use the Persona Identity 2 palette. Here's what that looks like. It's a lot brighter than it looks in photos, right? It's a really pretty color story. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matte shades out of the 12, which is not bad. The metallics are really nice. I wore this one to work yesterday, so it's not a full first impression, but I can give you more information that way. I did wear the Empowered shade as well as the Honest shade, and they perform really nice, even with a dry brush. You can see my mess I have on my table over here. I've been really admiring these looks I've seen people create that are more matte looks. So I'm kind of wanting to do something like that. I'm going to start with the shade Loyal here, and I'm going to apply this in my crease. I had put down some of that Kylie powder and the concealer on my eyelid, so I'm just gonna use it like this. I did find that the mattes blend really well, and the selection of mattes, the colors were really well chosen, I thought. The shade I'm using is Loyal. The shadows are a little powdery, I have to say, when I put my brush in there. Plus, I mean, these are not the softest brushes I've ever worked with, but they're not super prickly, and you still pick up a lot of product on your brush. Hopefully you can see like how much pigment that's actually picking up. With a smaller brush, I'm going to grab the shade Passionate, and I'm going to apply that to the outer corner. Look at that, that's a lot of pigment. I'm going to use the other brush with no additional product just to diffuse the edges. I really went in heavy-handed there. I'm just going to diffuse this shade as much as possible because I really was going for a softer look. For the lid shade, I'm going to use the shade Kind, which is a matte beige shade. I do want you to see some of the metallics, so I'm going to go into the shade Honest. I'll use that as an inner corner and brow bone highlight. I think that's everything I'm going to do for the eyeshadow. I'm going to recreate that on the other side and I will be right back. So I finished the eye look on the other side and I'm so tempted to put some wing liner. But I also don't want to distract from the soft matte look I was going for. And I know that once I put my mascara, it's going to brighten up the look a little bit because right now all the pink is making me look a little bit sick. But I think that once I put mascara on, it's going to look really pretty. So I don't know if I'm going to put the wing liner on. Let's apply the lip product first, and then we'll see if I feel like I still need it. I want to use the Laura Mercier lip liner, and this one is in the shade Hazelnut Tea. This lip liner was super creamy. It was very easy to line my lips, and I overline on the bottom. Looking at my lip options, I think I'm going to go with this one from MAC. This is the shade Bated Breath, and it's one of their Love Me lipsticks. It's the only shade I have, and it's like a pinky rosy nude. Probably very unnecessary for me to have it that far up. I love the richness of the lip color. It was Bated Breath and it's super comfortable on the lips. It feels a lot like their cream formula or their amplified formula, which I really like. Those are my two favorites and it feels really comfortable. Now we're back to the original dilemma of wing liner or no wing liner. I think I'm gonna leave it with no wing liner. We're just gonna put some mascara on and call it done. I'm worried I'll mess it up if I try the wing liner and then I'll be upset that I did that. So I think that this is how I'm going to leave it, but the mascara is going to make a big difference. Let me pick one out because I don't have any new ones to use. I'm going to go with the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Lashes. It's pretty new to my collection and it's really, really dark. I also find that it's a little clumpy, which I don't love, so I'm like wiping off the wand. I have a tendency to prefer longer separated lashes rather than clumpy lashes. It's just not my personal favorite. I don't love this mascara. Oh, it's making me wish I had done wing liner. Let me try not brushing off the excess. 10 years of mascara application later, this is the finished look and I don't like this mascara. It's a clumpy mascara. I like the color. It's very, very black, so the color is really nice, but I don't like the wand and the formula is really clumpy. I've been trying the mascara kind of on and off since my Charlotte Tilbury video, but I've just decided it's really not worth it. But this is the finished look. I'm gonna go and put my hair into some kind of order so that I can do an intro and outro and get to filming another video. So here we are. I hope you enjoyed seeing my try on and first impressions on all of these products. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of a rundown of everything that I tried. The first thing I mentioned was the primer by Touch in Sol. Everything will be linked in the description box down below in case you want to check out anything for yourself. This is something I mentioned I got in my BoxyCharm. It's very hydrating, just a little bit of tack. And you know, I have to say for a first impression, I enjoyed it. The foundation applied really nicely over it and I did find it to be hydrating. So far I like it, but obviously just a first impression. I did mention that for oily skin, you might find this a little bit too heavy. So just my opinion, but I don't have oily skin, so it's just an educated guess. For the foundation and concealer, even though my foundation looks fine now, you know that I had to go into a lot of bronzer because F7 and F6 are definitely not my shades. They're a little bit too light for me. And you know, after playing with the foundation, I don't think it's a terrible foundation, but for a foundation that's supposed to be hydrating, I think maybe the full coverage aspect of it is going to make it a little bit more dry, at least on my skin. And I can't say that the formula impressed me so much that I want to run out and get my exact shade. I think it's fine. I think it turned out well and products blended well on top of it, but not my preferred level of coverage, and I didn't find it particularly hydrating. There are a lot of foundations in my collection that I love more, so I'm really not rushing out to replace that one at the moment. And with the concealer, I found it a little bit drying, which is interesting because again, conceal and hydrate, and it's supposed to have hyaluronic acid. I think it's okay. It's an okay product. It reminds me a little bit of a more hydrating version of Tarte Shape Tape. You can blend it out fairly quickly. It doesn't dry too quickly, but again, it didn't knock my socks off. It was creasing a little bit, but once I set it with powder, it looks fine, and it still looks fine now. I do think that it's full coverage, so if that's something you enjoy, then you might like this concealer. I have the shade C6, which honestly is a bit too light, but we made it work. We did play with the Charlotte Tilbury color corrector, and I love this packaging, but man, it gets dirty and it's hard to open with my nails. I picked up the shade medium. I do find that it's brightening. Do I think that it's revolutionary compared to other products of its class? No, but I think that it works well and it's brightening, and I enjoy a product like this which allows me to use less foundation, less concealer, because I do have a tendency to crease, and so the less amount of product that I have, the more natural of a look that I achieve. So I actually like this one. For the Kylie powder in the beige shade, I liked it. I liked it both underneath my eyes as well as all over the face. You're not getting a lot of product at 10 grams. And I have to say beige, I think they have a translucent, then they have a pink, then they have a beige. The beige is a little bit darker than you might think based on the name. And so if you have a lighter skin tone than myself, you might want to opt for the pink or the translucent, because this might be a little bit too dark for you, especially if you plan to use it on your under eyes. It may darken your concealer, which may or may not be an effect that you want. For once today, it was an effect that I actually wanted, but I think the powder looks good. I like it. I will definitely continue to use the Kylie powder and everything else layered fine over it. The Marc Jacobs Dewdrops. I love this product. This is such a beautiful highlighter. You can use it in a variety of ways. You can mix it with your foundation, before foundation, after foundation, with no foundation. They're beautiful. I honestly wish that products like this would be sold in smaller packaging at a lower price point, because it's hard for me to recommend something that I know is in the upper $40 price range, even if it is so lovely, because there's a lot of product in here for the type of product that it really is, but it's gorgeous. And if you were worried that the shade might be a little bit too dark for you, it wasn't too dark for me. So I think it's beautiful, but it would also be beautiful on deeper skin tones. I love this amazing TJ Maxx find. Today's hero was definitely the Too Faced bronzer because of the foundation shade Emergency, but this bronzer is really nice. I can see why it always received the hype that it did. I like the way that it looks on my skin, and I love that it adds a glow. I thought my foundation was looking a little bit dry, and when I applied this, it started looking instantly better, both in shade as well as in finish, and so I really like this. I know I'm really late to this party, but I'm glad I finally added it to my collection, and I will continue to use it. We did play with the two new Melt highlighters, both the Genesis shade and the Morning Star shade. For the Genesis shade, it's definitely going to be too dark for you as a highlight if you're my skin tone, but you can definitely use it as a blush. Just keep in mind that with such a luminous blush, you're going to be emphasizing texture, and that's something that I did see, but I do like the color that it applied to my cheeks. I like it. I'm going to continue using it as a blush. I'm gonna actually store this one in my blush drawer because I know I won't use it as a highlighter. The Morning Star shade, on the other hand, is a beautiful highlighter. I like that it applies more in a metallic finish instead of a glittery finish. On the everyday, I prefer more of a metallic highlight than a glittery one, although I do love a glittery highlight on occasion. I like the formula. It's a little bit drier than the Milk Makeup Flex highlighter, which I love. I'm loving that one so much. But this one is really nice as well. If you're going back and forth between the two, I would say go for the Milk because the formula is just a little bit more creamy, but this is really intense and I do like it. The Persona palette. This is great. It's really nice. I love the way that the mattes blend out. I love the look that I came up with. I know that it's more of an everyday neutral kind of look, but I've been seeing girls just out and about wearing looks kind of like this that are all matte, and I love that. I love the way they look. I think they look so pretty. Not too overdone, but still a little bit glam, and that's kind of what inspired me to create my look today. The mattes are a little bit powdery when you're working with them, so you want to make sure to use a light hand, and you saw how pigmented they are. Like even the shade Loyal, which looks like it might be close to my skin tone, is very pigmented and definitely shows up. So I enjoy the mattes. From the shimmers, I have used 2 shimmers so far, the shades Honest and Empowered. They're beautiful applied even with a dry brush, and you can foil the shadows really nicely. I'm still yet to play into these more colorful shades like the shade Independent, Driven, and Unique. I will continue playing with those and report back, but so far I've used it twice and I like it. I'm very impressed. The Laura Mercier lip liner is an absolute yes. This thing is deliciously creamy and I love the shade. It's a perfect nude for this time of year because especially if you have a tan skin tone like me, you kind of wear like slightly darker nudes, and this is great. It's really good for overlining. So creamy, such a beautiful formula. I can't believe I found this at TJ Maxx, and the shade was Hazelnut Tea. I do like this one. Same for the MAC lipstick in the shade Bated Breath. This is one of their, what was the finish of it? Love Me lipsticks, which are supposed to be a little bit more creamy, definitely creamy. So comfortable on the lips. They feel great on my lips. Very comfortable. I would say I'm going to pick up more shades, but I have a lot of lip products, and so I'm happy with this one. I like the shade that I picked too because it's a little bit of a more pinky brown shade, and it's really great for fall. So this is a definite yes. I was a little bit hard on the mascara. I know it wasn't exactly a first impression. It is lengthening. It does darken the lashes a lot. I don't like the way it looks close up, and I do think it's clumping. I fiddled with my lashes quite a bit before I was okay with the way that they looked. So not my favorite formula, but if you like a formula that is really intense, really black, and a little bit clumping, then maybe look into this one because it would definitely do all of the above. It's just not necessarily my favorite, not necessarily a Charlotte Tilbury product that I would repurchase. Lastly, the brushes. I did use some of the brushes to create my work makeup looks this week, but I don't wear a lot of makeup to work, and so the only brushes that I haven't used are these. Some of these smaller eye brushes, but I did use a lot of the other ones. I've used all these already, which is quite a lot of them, and you know, I have to say, I think the regular price of these brushes is $150 in that neighborhood. I purchased mine for 20% off when Morphe had that sale, and you know, I have to say, I don't think that they're worth $150, but they aren't bad brushes at all. Like, they shed a little bit. They are natural bristles, and they're not going to be the best quality natural bristles, but the brushes are soft. They blend things nicely. I really like the way that the face brushes worked, especially this powder brush. It's really a nice brush, this larger one. The bronzer brush was nice. I was using this interesting asymmetrical one, which I think was copied off of Smashbox, honestly. This one is the JH, I think 04 or 06 maybe? 06, I think. They're all really nice. The foundation brush, this brush right here was great for powdering my under eye. I think that if you're looking for a good starter complete set, if this one goes on sale and they drop the price just a little bit, I think it's actually worth the money. Though I have to say it's not a complete set. I did find that they were missing a spoolie. Sometimes in a brush set, a spoolie is something that you might find, oh, another spoolie, another spoolie. But if you're trying to use a single brush set, this is the first thing I went for to try to do my brows, and it didn't have a spoolie. So a spoolie with an angled brush like this for eyeliner or things like that would have been really nice to have. It also doesn't have like an eyeliner brush, neither an angled liner brush or more of like a liquid liner type of brush. It doesn't have that either. It has a lot of variety of eye brushes, and the face brushes are pretty good. Like, I do think that they're overpriced. The case is really cute, although mine doesn't really like stay closed that well. You can see that because I've had it open on my desk for some time. it comes open super easily, which I don't think is ideal. I think the magnet should have been a little bit stronger in my opinion, but a little bit overpriced, but a good set of brushes overall. I like them. I'm glad I have them. Looking around, I think that's everything. I used Max Fix Plus, but obviously that's not new, and the MAC mascara on the lower lash line is not new, so I think that's everything. There were definitely some ups and downs during this video, but I think that the finished look worked out really well, and had I gone out today, which I didn't, I wouldn't have been upset with the way my makeup looked. I think that the bronzer was definitely today's hero and made my foundation look a lot better. But yeah, we did have a calamine lotion moment for a second. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I would love to hear your thoughts on all these products down in the comment section. I love reading your feedback. If you have tried any of these or you have any recommendations for other ways in which I might use them, definitely share. I would love to know, and I'm going to continue playing with these products. They were just a first impression or second impression, so I will definitely come back and report back on one of my haul updates, which I recently shared one as well. So if you haven't seen that one, check that one out. That's everything from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're doing very well wherever you are. Thank you for supporting me and my channel. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon on my next one. Bye-bye.